Guys, it's time to work. I don't know why I raised this one and then meant to... It's time to work. Oh my god. It's been a while, guys. I'm sorry. I just needed a few days out because of my tooth. I was in so much agony. It still hurts, but not as much. So let me tell you what happened before I get into other stuff, because I'm sure you're all riveted by my tooth situation. So there was... okay. Where do we... So you all know that they found a tooth above my tooth that hurt. They did another x-ray, but enlarged the area because I was still in so much pain after they gave me antibiotics to take down the inflammation. So next to the tooth that's hurting, there is another tooth. So but I'm not missing any teeth on the outside, so my mouth has produced 3 of the same teeth, which is really, really rare. And they're all adult teeth. So my mouth just went, I really like the first molar. I'm going to have 3 first molars. But because obviously there's only enough room for 1 first molar, first one came out perfectly. It was like, mwah. But as soon as it got damaged and I needed a filling, that obviously weakens the tooth. So the second one went, this is my time to shine, which is why it's been hurting for the past 3 to 4 years. But I didn't do anything about it because it didn't hurt unless I chewed on it, because, you know, there was a filling there that was broken, so that relieved all the pressure there. And then, so now I got that filling filled up with a temporary filling, the pressure can't be relieved, which is why it's hurting. And the tooth next to it, and this tooth that's above it, is basically, say like most teeth are like this one's like this. It's growing sideways and pushing down. And because of that, the roots of it are lodged up into my general sinus area. It doesn't cause me to, you know, sneeze blood or anything. It would if it was going in that direction, but fortunately it's going in this direction into my sinuses, which is a good thing, which means it can still be extracted, fortunately. The tooth next to it, say like, okay, so this is the tooth that's sideways, this is the tooth that's out, is growing like this, going into the roof of my mouth. So, they can extract that, but the roots have basically done a rare thing. So whereas teeth's roots are usually straight with the tooth, they go in the direction of the tooth, this one's curved itself, and it's trying to push through the roof of my mouth. Fortunately, they've sorted that one. Like, that one was like, oh no, we need to get rid of this one now. They got rid of it, and since then, a lot of pain has gone. But after that, there was like swelling at the back of my mouth, like right where the teeth stop. So I was like, oh what's this swelling? So I did the normal thing and poked it really, really hard. And as I did that, the tooth that started all of this, the tooth with the fractured filling that was hurting, lowered down, and a whole bunch of fluid was like released around it as it was lowering down, but the pain disappeared by like 95%. Now, the pain mostly isn't there now. It's still like, something's not right, and it's lower down, so I can't properly shut my mouth, but the pain isn't there for the most part, so I don't really mind, and I just need to wait for the referral, and then this tooth and the tooth above it will be extracted, and then I wait 4 to 6 weeks for the bone to heal, and then I can go and get an implant, to replace it, because obviously, model can't have a missing tooth. Don't care if it's that far back, don't care if no one will see it, I'm a model, I don't want anything standing in my way. So, that's that. That is the tooth update. I guess the other thing I wanted to talk about is Patreon, as a lot of you know about it. It's basically an ongoing Kickstarter that I have. Yeah, donations happen for every 2 history videos I do. And I've been talking a while about totally revamping the Patreon because I wanted to... I wanted the direction... When I made my Patreon, there was a certain direction I wanted to take the channel in. That direction has changed. Obviously, I still want to do comic book things, but I want to expand my brand. I don't want to be another comic book YouTuber because, you know, Benny and Rob are great people, don't get me wrong, but they do have that sort of comic book nerd feel about them, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with. Whereas I don't have that, so I will never have that market cornered. I have, not saying Benny and Rob don't have personalities, but my main lure is my personality and my looks. So obviously I need something to reflect that, and obviously that's one of the reasons why I want to change my backdrop. I want something that just makes me stand out so I can say, this is my channel, this is It's Super Effective, welcome to It's Super Effective. So I'm going to be changing my Patreon completely. I basically spoke to Benny, and I just spoke to the people at Patreon and asking them for advice, and they said, don't put the cheapest goals first, put the most important goals first, and then put cheaper ones in close succession after that first goal. And this encourages people to help you hit that first goal, as opposed to helping you hit, because most people only hit the first goal or so. So if you have the first, like, even if your first goal happens to be the most expensive thing, if it's the most important thing, you're more likely to hit it, which makes a lot of sense. So at the start of next month, I'm totally revamping my Patreon, and my first goal isn't going to be too expensive, but it is going to be to help me get a studio space, to whether that studio space is an apartment or an actual studio, soundproof studio that I record in, just because I do need my own filming space. At the moment, I don't talk about this much. My current filming space, I share with my two parents. I have talked about that. But what you don't see is behind my tripod, I put up a curtain. And behind that curtain, there is a cross trainer, or as Americans call it, an elliptical, a sit-up bench, and a weightlifting bench, and a rack of weights. And then a desk, and a bookshelf. And on this bookshelf is a bunch of family photos. So that room isn't my room. And then where I stand when I'm filming, there is another elliptical, and I have to move that every time I want to record, and I have to set up my lights, and because I have to essentially rearrange the furniture in the room every time I want to record, it takes about an hour. So if I had my own studio space, I could just leave everything where it is, and I'd be able to get out like 7 videos a week, because I could record, and like when I edit, I tend to record straight away. No, when I film, I tend to edit straight away and then upload. And then it's just one thing. At the moment, I can't do that because it takes about an hour or to an hour and a half for me to change all the furniture in the room, set up my lighting, and so on. So, you know, that's why my first goal is going to be a studio, and I'm going to have it in London, which means you'll see other UK YouTubers as well on my channel. So that's what's going to happen. If we hit the goal. If not, I'll find other ways to try and fund this, but that's sort of what I would like to do. I mean, I'm not saying we'll get them, because I've never met them, but could you imagine me talking to Amazing Phil and Dan Is Not On Fire about comics? Just throwing that out there. Like, Emma Black, or me putting Emma Blackery in a Zelda cosplay, like, doing her makeup properly. Not saying she can't do makeup, but you haven't had your makeup done until you've had your makeup done by a drag queen. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing a gymnastics uniform. I just got back from practice. Yeah. Yeah. My chest is looking huge. I spent an hour on the rings today, so now my chest is like, why would you do that to me? And I'll be feeling it in my core tomorrow. I will be feeling it in my core. So that's it, really. Oh, no, and the other thing I'm doing with my Patreon is I'm going to open up a separate Patreon with smaller goals, much cheaper goals, for cosplay related content. So that's kind of like how I'll be funding Becoming Robin and stuff like that. Because Becoming Robin, I do like to do out of my own pocket, but where I can get funding, I you know, it's necessary. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys for listening. I know this was a bit of a heavy thing. People don't really like hearing about finances and stuff, but it is kind of an important thing, because if I earn as much off of YouTube as people think YouTubers earn, I wouldn't have a Patreon. But I don't earn that much off of YouTube. I earn enough to pay my bills and have a little bit of spending money. But there's a reason why I wear all the same 2 t-shirts in all of my videos. So, or in this week's case, I'm wearing a gymnastics leotard because all my t-shirts were dirty, and I was just like, well, I'm going to practice after I film, so... but yeah, that's it for today. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you all have an amazing day, and this has been Time to Work.